Today's episode is brought to you by Andy Bovender, the founder of the Bovender team out of the Carolinas. Him and his team have helped more than 5,000 families. So if you have somebody who's been thinking about making a move to or from that area, they are the team to call. Today, I sit down with Ashley Donay, who is the head of coaches at Compass. She shares the one area of the business that most agents neglect. As always, I'm your host and referral partner out of San Francisco, Shawn Kunkler. Ashley, we are live. How are you?
Hey, Shawn. Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Fighting a cold, but I'm good mentally. Just power through it, as the old saying goes, which is, I know it's not healthy or appropriate, but it's what I do.
You just got to ignore it, right? That's what I do.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a home gym, and I have a huge flag on my wall, right? It's like right next to the powerlifting rack, and it literally says, "No one cares, work harder."
No one cares that you have a cough.
No one cares.
We all know about it now, but no one cares.
So before we dive into this conversation, if you could, in a couple sentences, just share who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Ashley Donay. I am the head of coaching at Compass, and I live in New York City right now, but originally from Chicago. So I always say, if people didn't know that I was from Chicago, as soon as I say Chicago, they know that I'm from Chicago because of the Chicago.
It's funny. The first time we chatted, I remember I'm like, "Where are you from?" I'm picking up an accent, but it's like loose.
Yeah, it comes out every once in a while. And my mom's side of the family is actually from the South, from Nashville. So when I get on the phone with my grandma, sometimes I pick up this like Southern twang, but then it's got the Chicago. And then when I moved to New York City, I actually told my mom, if I pick up a New York City accent on top of a Chicago accent, I can no longer do all these virtual trainings that people listen in and hear me to, because no one's going to want to hear me talk.
Or they're just going to be like, "Where's she from?"
The whole time.
What is that dialect
Yeah.
she has there? So right before we hopped on, you were talking about just process, and that's the biggest area that most agents fall short. Before we dive into that, it's really cool. From all these crazy interviews I've had with such amazing guests for the past 2 years, I actually started a group, and it's where the guests we talk shop. But because we're in such different markets, there's no competition. So we just share, like, here are the pain points, here we're working on. Yesterday was what are some of the biggest challenges? And in the guests range from solo agents to mega teams, like Andy Bovender has, I think he has 47 people on his team. So it's like,
and growing.
And Francie Molina, who has a ton of agents, and so there's obviously a big range, but the biggest pain point that was brought up was systems and process.
Yeah.
Even with those, because I think the one thing, and we can unpack this, is the business is evolving. It's organic, it's growing, it's changing. So therefore your processes are never done.
Yep. Always. Process is the one thing that can make or break you. Like the lack of process will break you 100%. You get burned out. You're not passionate anymore. You lose money. You're operating in the red and you don't even know it. I know that's the case for a lot of team leaders that I speak to. But process is the simplest thing. Like, so much of our process lives in our head as real estate agents, and we just have never put it down on paper or used technology. And there's no one really to blame, right? You get licensed, and we were just talking about this, Shawn. You get licensed. That course just really teaches you how to stay out of realtor jail, right? Like how to not lose your license, but it doesn't teach you a single thing about running a business. And then you join brokerages, and traditionally brokerages have just licensed third-party software. So they don't even have anyone at the brokerage level to be able to help you implement systems or process, because there's 30 different softwares or technologies that they're using.
Yeah.
And so it's been something that I've been really passionate about as the head of coaching at Compass, because you can 100% run your business on the Compass platform, and you have support teams at Compass that can actually help you do that.
Yeah.
But we as agents and business owners have to find the motivation to sit down and actually do something that's pretty boring. It is not fun. Process isn't sexy. It's not exciting, but it's the number one thing that will save us, allow us to get more time back, protect our income, scale a business, retire from the business. It's everything.
Have you been completely neglecting your newsletter, social media, or any of your outbound marketing? If so, I have a solution for you. With little to no commitment, a virtual assistant can jump in and help you in those areas you just don't have the time for. For more information about hiring a virtual assistant, go ahead and follow the link in the description below. It's funny that you specifically said it's not sexy. It's literally verbatim what Courtney said. And Courtney Smith is,
Yeah.
well, she was a phenomenal agent when she was
Yes.
practicing, and now she coaches.
Yep.
You have to produce 100 million to just sit with her, and she's
Yeah.
like, it's not sexy, but it needs to be done. One thing that, I wish I remembered who said it, but it was a very prolific entrepreneur. And they said, if you're solving the same problems next year at this time, then you haven't handed things off, which ultimately means you don't have systems in process. They're not in place. So you have to continue to do the same
Yeah.
things over and over and over. Um, and I like that you shared about bookkeeping and people running in the red, because as owners, as business operators, we're not just facilitating transactions for buyers and sellers, we're running a business. So
Yes.
marketing needs a process, this podcast needs a process.
Yep.
I shared with you how it works on the back end really quick, that it gets edited and cleaned up, and there's a whole systems and process. There's check sheets, there's workflows. I know where everything is with this, with my transactions. I meet regularly with my bookkeeper and accountants. Everything needs systems and process.
Totally.
Um, from your coaching perspective, how do you, because agents just move really fast, they're running at full speed. How do you get them to slow down and put some attention and focus, basically time, money, and energy towards this activity? Hey, real estate pros, be honest. You know you should be using video, but maybe you feel awkward, don't have the time, or just aren't seeing the results. This is where Kim Rittberg's Video Bootcamp comes in. This live coaching program helps agents create high quality videos quickly and confidently, resulting in leads and clients. Her students have seen results. One landed 3 new clients directly from social media, and others brought in millions of dollars in closed sales. Spots are limited, and to apply now, follow the link in the description below.
Yeah. I think it's an individual experience, honestly,
Good point.
to create motivation for anyone to do something different than what they've been doing. You have to find that pain point. So
True.
even when I'm talking about process, if I'm in a room full of 200 agents at like a sales meeting, I always start off talking about process with identifying the pain points in our business, because you
Yes.
have to latch on to that to be like, you're right. I get it. You're right. I don't want to keep doing that or losing that or whatever it is. So I
Yeah.
always start off with like a series of questions, and they go from really simple questions to really complex questions. And so like a
Mhm.
simple question will be like, Shawn, have you ever forgot anything at an open house?
100%.
Yes, everyone has. We all, like, anyone listening, I'm sure is like, oh, I've definitely forgot sign-in sheets. I was in an office one time and an agent said that they forgot to put it in the MLS, and they're like, no wonder no one's showing up. No one knew about it. Simple, right? Process will actually help you not forget all the things that you need to do to prepare for an open house. I bring up a little bit more of a serious question. Have you, as an agent, ever dropped the ball on a transaction? Like some portion in that transaction, some part where you're like, oh, I forgot to send that email. I forgot to follow up on that thing.
That's the 3 a.m. cold sweats. I've had
Yes.
those.
Yes. We're
Yeah.
like, wake up. Oh my God. I forgot to do that. Let me call that person.
I need to get an addendum out ASAP.
Yes, we have all been there. We have all been there.
Yeah.
There's not a single person, they're lying to you if they tell you that they haven't. But it's again, it's because it's not written down anywhere. We're not
Yeah.
following the steps anywhere. It's all in our heads.
Yeah.
So many of us, the second a listing agreement is signed, it's all right, schedule this, do that, do that, do that. We're not referencing it on a sheet anywhere. So of
Mm-mm.
course we forget it. When life is busy and life gets crazy, you forget those things. But then I asked the more serious question, and this one's like super personal to me. But I asked the more serious question of how many of you have felt the stress and strain of this business when some personal life event happens? Maybe
Yeah.
you get a phone call that someone passed or someone got sick or hurt.
Yeah.
And you immediately felt that weight on your shoulders of, oh my gosh, how am I going to go handle this thing, no matter how long it takes, while also maintain my business and spring market and stay on top of these transactions and do the showings and have all the phone calls and do all of the things.
Yeah.
Um, and it's because of a lack of process that we feel that stress and strain, and that
Mhm.
we prevent ourselves from being able to ask for help when we need help the most.
Yeah. That one hits. Um, Last year in September, my sister called. Actually, it was August. She called, and my mom wasn't doing well
Mm,
and was being moved into hospice. And
wow.
I literally had to stop what I was doing, order, buy tickets, get on a flight, and I spent the next 3 weeks in Connecticut, literally sitting by my mom's bedside until she passed.
Oh
And
no.
in the process, I had two buyers writing offers, and we had listings. And thank God I had process,
Yeah.
because I would jump on a meeting once a week,
Yep.
and and my team would just give me a summary. Here's what we worked on. Here's what we're
Yep.
working on. Here's what's going to be executed, and then we'll send you updates as we move.
Yep.
And it was one of those, like, thank God I had that infrastructure in
Yep.
place, so I physically didn't have to be there. But additionally, it also put a spotlight on all of those things that didn't have process,
Yep. Yep.
because then I started to realize, like, oh, this isn't getting done. These balls are dropping. These are the areas I need to go back and start to address.
Yeah.
So
Totally. And I mean, I was there too. 2020, my dad had passed. 2021, my older brother had
oh,
passed.
oh my goodness, sorry.
And Shawn, I appreciate that, and I'm sorry for your loss too. But this is the reality of being a small business owner. This is the reality
Yeah.
of being an entrepreneur. And this is life, right? Like amazing thing happen, babies, weddings, right? Like
Yeah.
amazing things happen. And on the other side of that, right? Like we go through terrible circumstances and stuff like that as well. But as small business owners and entrepreneurs, we have to take the time to put process in place so that we don't feel the stress and can be there in those moments where we really need to be present personally.
Yeah.
And I was like you, Shawn, I was lucky. I come from a teaching background, and so I'm used
Hmm.
to process. I'm used to writing lesson plans and doing all these things and making it repeatable and scalable. And when I had a team, when we moved over to Compass, actually originally, that move made us go through all of our processes because we were going to a new place, new technology, new
Yes.
platform, and that was in 2018. So when 2020 hit and I lost my dad, like you, like, right, thank God I had things in place
Yeah.
so that I could step away, because you don't have bandwidth for anything when you're going through that stuff.
You have
Uh,
like less than no bandwidth.
exactly.
There's it's all consuming
Yep.
to the point there's you cannot make good well formed decisions in that. It's an awful experience. And so the having that infrastructure in advance is,
Totally. Yep.
from the business owner, it's life saving
Yep.
to
And this isn't, right, the reality of real estate. This isn't a business where we can just put a sign up and say we'll be back next week. Like,
gone
people
fishing.
are right. Yeah. Yeah. People are purchasing homes. This is like often their single largest investment. So they can't wait. And we get that. And we want to be there for them. But that shouldn't come as a detriment to our own personal lives. When we implement process, whether we have a team or not, it allows you to more easily ask for help. And that's like the
Yeah,
beauty and what I love about Compass and their technology in particular is that it can get shared with other people. You
yeah,
can share business tracker folders and you can share checklists and action plans. So when you get things down, you can call up that sales manager then and be like, hey, something's going on. I need help right now. Who in the office can help me out with things over the next couple of weeks because I need to get out of town, go
yeah,
visit family or whatever it is, or you know, people taking maternity leave or paternity leave. Like, you can do all these things, but you got to sit down there and just get things out of your head and
yeah,
down on technology and platform. um Shawn, we already talked, like, it's not exciting, it's not sexy to sit down and write out your processes, but it's
yeah,
simple work. It is not rocket science. You don't sit there and you're like, oh, how do I do this? We all know how to do it. It's literally just carving out the time to
yeah.
just freaking do it.
The way that I actually did it was I got lucky in the beginning. And it's like I won the birth lotto. My dad had started three different businesses, and his final business he started when I was 5 years old and then sold it after 46 years. And so I would hop on calls with him once a week and say, listen, we're not talking about family. We're not talking about anything like other than business.
Mm,
And like, tell me how you approach this. If you were to start a business today, who were the first three people
yeah.
you would hire? Why would you hire them? And I gleaned just such amazing nuggets. And within that, I had a really hard start. I started at a different brokerage. The mentoring was terrible.
Yep.
And then when I moved over to a boutique firm in San Francisco. And when I sat with the manager, I said, look, I know I need to have three mentors, I need to do three transactions with the mentor. But rather than having one mentor, I would prefer to have three different mentors because no clients are the same, no process, no
Yep.
properties the same, nothing's the same. And so I want to find people who are going to help me solve problems. And on my first listing, I chose an agent I knew she had amazing systems.
Mm,
And so I was like, I'll pull you into this deal. I gave her 50% and said, I want to work through your workflow. I want to see
yeah.
what and that's how I
Yep.
acquired the list. And then I took that list and made tweaks to it to make it my own and
Yep.
changed the order of things. But that's how I started.
Yeah.
Um, but if anything, there's any aspect of anything in life, if you're doing it more than once, there's a process.
Totally.
Like
But
sending a text is the process. You open your
yeah.
phone, you go to your text messages,
Yep.
you click on the little icon button, you put in the person's name. Like there's everything, literally everything is a process. And
Yeah.
whether it's on autopilot or not, there's a repeatable action that's happening.
Totally. And what you brought up, right, is about, you don't need to be the person that creates it from scratch.
Correct.
Like, that's the beauty of real estate, and that's the beauty of collaboration, is that all of these things that we actually need to implement in our business, they're already done, and they're already done somewhere else.
Mhm.
And you can just take that up and do R&D, rip off and duplicate.
100%.
Um, in the platform, there's checklist templates. I mean, agents, right? We mastermind, we collaborate. You can grab any, like, people share this stuff all the time.
All the time.
Reach out, ask people for help, and take that format and, like you just said, Shawn, like, make it yours. We all run our business a little differently. We have different touch points at different times. Our personality gets thrown on it, our value prop gets thrown on it. But you don't have to ever start from scratch. And so that's my probably biggest piece of advice when it comes to all
Yeah.
of this is don't, in fact, stop. If you are trying to stop,
Yeah.
ask for help, reach out, collaborate, because it's all out there. And you've got AI now, right? Like,
Yeah.
AI even can help you build out process so much quicker. Um, we just got to use the tools and resources we have.
I think we are currently, which it's kind of a double-edged sword, but we're in the the absolute best period in history to start anything new. You can literally, I remember
Yeah.
years ago, there was a guy, I think he was in Africa and competed at the Olympics, but learned all the skills he needed to acquire for that without a coach from YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's literally all
Yeah.
there.
It
And
is.
so, I mean, but you can sit with, I mean, you can literally sit with Robert Refkin, the CEO of Compass, right now. You can go get his book and read
Yeah.
that. You can watch past episodes or podcasts. I'm sitting with you right now and learning firsthand. There's so much access to mentors.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
and and so I think on the other side of it is carving out the time to educate yourself and figuring out if somebody's brand new or starting a new career in this, it's like figure out what your strengths are, figure out where your weaknesses are, and then go get some mentoring. And
Yeah.
it's again, it's so abundant at this point. There's never been more books available to us ever in the history of the world.
Yeah.
More podcasts, more videos. It's all out there. You just have to carve out a few minutes and go find the solution for it.
Completely, right? And then you gotta turn on all the blockers so that you don't get distracted. I'll share a funny story. Um, it was probably like 3 years ago in the winter months, right around the holidays is when I always tended as a business owner to like go through my systems and processes and clean things up because it's a little bit slower around the holiday season and you're not outside enjoying the sun. Um, but we're so used, it's like maybe I get 15 minutes where I can focus on something and then I go and do something else, or then I pick up the phone, or then I go into another tab. And so when I was actually going through my processes the most recent time, I was like, all right, I'm going to go through these 5 things tonight. If I get through these 5 things, Ashley, you get a glass of wine. And maybe that's like a bad way to reward. But I was like, all right, I got to make it fun or exciting. And I've
Yeah.
done this with like friends too, where we'll like commit to something, and if you don't do it, then you have to buy other people a gift or anything like that to make it more fun so that you sit down and do it. Cause like it's not exciting. Implementing checklists for your transactions or your process for your CRM, like that is not exciting work at
No.
all. So, like, you got to figure out a little bit of a reward system to get it done.
100%. It's very Pavlovian. It's
Yes.
my son, the youngest, just recently accepted to go to a college, and he
Fun,
fences.
exciting.
So he's super excited, and he fences, and he's been there's this headgear that he's been wanting for. He went to nationals probably close to a year ago, and it's a really expensive headgear that he's been wanting, and so he saved and saved and saved, and then for the past 3 months ish, he's just not been pulling the trigger on buying it, but he's been
Yeah.
wanting it. And then I was like, hey man, you know what you should do? You have 6 schools that accepted you. Hold on to that helmet and wait until you choose the school. And when you choose it,
Ah,
that's the
yeah,
time to get
I
the
love
helmet.
that.
Like reward yourself for that hard choice. And
Yeah,
then the moment he decided, he ordered it, and then it's like now his like prized possession
I love
because
that.
it's anchored to a very hard decision that he made.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important
Yeah.
to figure out how to reward yourself. Like what's going to
Yes.
make you feel good to
Yes.
go through this experience.
Yep. Yep.
I think I genuinely feel that's a very it's a very important part of goal setting
Yes.
is I think the one mistake people set with goals is they're worded as wishes and it needs
Yeah.
to be very clear and concise. And then I think the other fail is there's not an associated date of completion.
Yeah.
And then the last component to your point is an associated reward.
Yep.
And because
Yep.
sometimes getting through the goal is like kind of sucks. Like it's not sexy, it's not
Oh, yeah.
fun, it's hard,
Yep.
it's grueling. But if you have that reward attached to it at the end that that's actually compelling you,
Mhm. Yep.
then hey, that you
Yeah.
should reward yourself,
Right.
even if it's a glass of wine.
And it's all mindset, right? It's the mindset of doing the thing, and it's do I really believe what I'm doing? Do I is that why strong enough, or like the right
Yeah,
the mindset of like, all right, this is going to be really difficult. I need to get myself to envision what it's going to feel like afterwards, or
yeah,
whatever that is. Melanie
yeah.
Klein is a certified compass coach of ours, and she coaches to goal setting a lot. And it was interesting because she was talking about one of her clients and setting a really aspirational goal, and like realtors, I feel like we do like that sometimes with our sales volume and stuff. And they never could get over this hump. And she point blank was like, even if I was talking to you and be like, Shawn, 1 to 10, how much do you actually believe you'll be able to achieve that goal?
That's a great question.
And it's like 5. And it's like, all right, it doesn't even matter what you're doing every day. If you don't actually believe 100% in yourself that you can achieve that goal, the activities that you do every day are not going to actually ladder up to that goal, because your subconscious mind, right, is
Mhm.
constantly telling you that I'm not going to achieve it anyways. I don't even believe in myself. I'm just going through the motions of this thing.
Good
And
point.
right, the motions are not reaping the benefits that I thought they would, because you don't even believe in yourself. So that was really interesting when she had shared that. But it's right to your point too. Like, what is the mindset around all of this? How do you create that motivation, positive mindset to really believe in yourself, and be so connected either to that outcome, that reward, that future state, that you can get there.
That is such a I love that you brought up the mindset behind sitting down and let's say doing processes
Yeah.
because yeah, if you're internally at a 5 but you really need to be at a 8 or a 9 to get it executed, you're never going to carve out the time to do it.
Yep.
It'll just never happen.
No. And that's why, right, your question in the beginning, I was like, this is why whenever I talk about process, I ask open-ended questions to try to pull out some of that emotional connection, because no one ever showed up to a training that was titled Learn How to Use Checklists. Like that didn't create any motivation for anyone want to attend that training. It's about so much more than that. And it's right, all of this that we're talking about is living the life that you really want to lead,
Yeah.
as a business owner. And in order for us to even push ourselves to do more of the things that we enjoy to do every day, we have to have process so that we delegate the things that we don't enjoy, and we keep ourselves focused on what we really do enjoy, what gives us that natural high, what feels good, and what we're really great at.
Wow, Ashley, that really hit. Like I'm thinking about the things that have been on my to-do list way too long and
Yeah.
then thinking about on a 1 to 10 how commit it's for me it's like, well, how committed am I to actually getting that done? And it's so low that it just keeps getting pushed to the next week, to the next week, and it never gets. I don't
Yep.
even delegate it. I just don't do anything with it. And so yeah, that's a great point that you bring up, that calibrate yourself first and then really figure out how to dig and get that motivation, because if you don't
Yep.
have it, it doesn't matter. It'll never change.
Totally.
Um, and then within that, with goals, we I know for me, you being pulled towards a goal is
Mm-hmm.
one aspect of it, but then you have to be pushed to the goal. And it's
Mm-hmm.
usually we get pushed trying to move away from pain, and then
Yeah.
we pull, which is moving towards the pleasure. And so if it's not equal and proportionate, the pain of not doing it has to be there, and then the
Yeah.
pleasure of doing it needs to be there, and then
Yep.
you'll actually do it. It's kind of
Totally.
like, you see it all the time with health, is you go to
Mm-hmm.
the doctor and then somebody's like, you're now pre-diabetic. If you don't lose the weight, you're going to be full-blown diabetic, and
Yeah.
here are all the painful things that are going to happen to you in the future if you don't change your course now. And then
Yep.
it's like, radically, they're in the gym every day, radically eating different, and radically like going to bed on time and getting up, and it's like they just radically change because it's something struck them so powerfully they change gears.
Yeah. The fear, right?
Yeah.
Or the pain. And that's like the thing with process, right? What you're talking about is like your process, like your health, right? Like your process. What is your process every day to prioritize your health? And
Yeah.
even like in our business, it's don't wait until that pain or fear is there, because often
Mm.
then it can be too late, right? Like don't wait until that moment where you get that phone call that changes your life to implement these things. Like try to find that motivation now to do it. Try to find that motivation right before you get to the doctor and they tell you that you're pre-diabetic, so that you don't get that far down, because the other thing that we just talked about is like the information is there. We all know exactly what we should be doing,
Yeah.
whether it's living a healthy life, like the content is out there all the time. Like eat whole foods, fruits, vegetables, meats, like we're good, right? But it's the instant gratification of all the other things that we have to coach ourselves to. Or I think this brings up to like the other topic is asking for help. Like if you have tried to get healthy on your own, or tried to implement process or run a successful business or budget and been unsuccessful over and over and over again, be strong enough to be vulnerable enough and ask for help. I need a coach. I need a
Yeah.
mentor. I need a professional to hire, and delegate it. Get them to help you and implement those things, because like you said, Shawn, the resources, the education, the people are all so available
Yeah.
today. You can find it. You just have to ask. And I think we as humans are not often as vulnerable as enough as we should be in asking for help, and that's the number one thing that you can do to achieve whatever you want to achieve is ask for help and support.
I think it gets harder too as you get successful, and especially if you get
Yeah.
successful quick in the beginning, because then you people keep coming to you because and then
Mhm.
and now you feel as if you should know. So now you're like in this weird predicament of,
Imposter syndrome.
yeah, and then it's like, well, if I ask for help, it means I actually don't know, and so now
Yeah.
you're kind of stuck in this loop. But then, to your point, you have to have the courage to just say, I need it. One thing that I always try to remind myself is, regardless of how many times Michael Jordan won or lost, he always had a coach.
Yeah.
Always.
Always.
Always. And multiple coaches. He had a health and
Oh yeah.
fitness coach. He had a coach who specifically worked with his skill. He had coaches all
Yeah.
around him
Yep.
who knew the road better than he did, and they would
Yep.
guide him in the right direction. And I think that's always for me an important reminder of, it's fine if you don't know. It's fine. There's plenty of people who've navigated through this. They know what to do, what to avoid, and they will get you there exponentially quicker than you trying to force gump your way through this whole thing.
Completely. I love the Michael Jordan reference. Um,
Chicago. So
yes,
I figured
yes.
it was appropriate.
I gosh, I used to watch the Bulls all the time when I was little. I was in ballet class, and I remember anytime there was a Chicago Bulls game on, I would beg my parents, "I don't wanna go to ballet. Please, can I just stay home and watch the Bulls?" It was, like, the best to watch the Bulls. Jordan, Rodman, Pippen, it was those were the days. But, speaking about Michael Jordan as well and, like, having a coach, the one thing, and I love watching, sports documentaries and movies and stuff like that, and it's the number one, thing that peak performers, if you will, right,
Mhm.
have in common is, one, the coach, the support, the help, but also the consistency and the fundamentals. It's
Always.
always about the consistency and the fundamentals. Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
even at his prime, was still sitting there, right? Running drills
Yeah.
at the free throw line. Like, it is the fundamentals. Lifting weights, right? Doing the same bicep curls or whatever it is. It's the consistency and the fundamentals. And that's something that I actually have started thinking about more and more often. Um, is really enjoying consistency in the boring things, because the fundamentals tends to be boring, but, like, if you can find enjoyment in the boring things and the consistency of doing the boring things, you will be wildly successful in whatever you're trying to achieve, whether that's a
Mhm.
healthy, fitness routine, healthy eating, business practices. Like, we I think we all need to push ourselves to enjoy the boring stuff, because this world has got us constantly looking for all this insane gratification and all of these other things. Like,
Yeah.
we got to rewire our brains.
It's so true, and I love that you reference back to sports. Well, one, I firmly believe success leaves clues. And anybody who's performing
Yeah.
in any aspect of life at a high level, they're leaving clues all over the place. And consistency is by far the number one thing, by far, head and shoulders above everything else. And then you reminded me, I studied Kung Fu for a number of years.
Cool.
And I went on to actually run the school. But when I was training regularly, my instructor, you would go through the beginner class, intermediate, and then advanced, and then the instructor class. But we would show up to class, and it became a running joke because my instructor was at the time he was probably in his 60s and just like this. He was basically a muscle and
Yeah.
like in like amazing shape. But he would at the beginning of class he would ponder and think about what he's gonna teach today, and then he would go, today we're going to work on the basics. In every class, it was like a running joke
I
because we're
love
like,
that.
oh, is it? And it was always the basic punch and the basic kick.
Yeah.
Every single class.
So
We
cool.
always did it in some aspect of it. And sometimes we would literally spend the whole class, the whole hour on one basic punch and
Yeah.
just get it so dialed in. But anytime I went to a tournament, my default setting was to do a basic punch and a basic kick, and I did very well with just
Yeah.
two very basic tools
Yep.
in my toolbox.
I love that.
But I do think athletes who transition into this industry, they just understand the aspect of practice, and
Yeah.
it's not fun, it's not sexy, it's basic, but find the joy in that
Yep.
and get that just super dialed. And then everybody around you is going to get really dialed into that one thing.
Yep.
Um, like basketball players, I don't, it was Larry Bird back in the day. He was doing a commercial and he would shoot, like as a warm up, he would shoot like thousands of shots from all over the court. And then he would go on to whatever the next practice was. But he was shooting a commercial, and in the commercial, he had the miss and he would just throw the ball and boom, it would go in like perfect swish. And
Mhm.
then they were like, no, you have to miss. And then he would just go to autopilot, boom, swish. And he like swished it so many times, like I'm having trouble missing. Like
Yeah.
I'm so hardwired to get it in. I can't do this other thing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so fun. Yeah, there's so many similarities. Which is why I think I like watching like sports documentaries and stuff like that, because there's just, I mean, right, that's performance. Real
Mm,
estate is also performance. You get back, right, the effort that like you put in.
yeah.
And sometimes you don't get back the effort that you put in because it's just naturally not there. And like that's another realization in this industry. And I see this a lot sometimes with new agents or even with team leaders that are trying to coach up and train up like new agents. There is a component to real estate
Hmm.
that in order to be a rainmaker on your own, right? Like you just have to have this authentic ability to just connect with people. And I often see a lot of agents start to get frustrated if they're not like closing enough deals and they're hosting all these open houses and they're doing these things. And sometimes I've like literally walked up to someone and been like, look, you are amazing. You are detail oriented, you're a great professional. You need to be in more of a supportive role. You are not that
Yeah.
lead generator. You are not that rainmaker that can instantly meet anyone and get them to know, like, and trust you. That doesn't mean you're not going to be a successful agent. We just need to put you in the position and the role because when you get the client, man, you can close them. And right,
Yeah.
that goes back though to like knowing your strengths, even athletes, right? Like knowing what position you are going to be the most effective in. I don't actually
100%.
think we talk about that enough in real estate. Everyone wants to be this big producer on their own, but like that's not everyone's skill set, and you shouldn't feel one way or another if you're in a more of a supportive role or not, cuz success is completely dependent upon you and how you define it.
Amen. Like again, I'm for lack of better analogy, if you just look at the whole basketball team as an entirety,
Yeah.
you have more
We're gonna
than
have a
just
spin-off segment on like sports and real estate after this, I feel like.
it's we could have a whole episode on just like the sports analogy. But if
Yeah.
you look at an entire team, right, who shows up to play, I think one really important thing is talk with regards to agents is, and I think athletes, you learn this, is you invest your time and energy into the practice. And the way you practice is the way you'll perform. That's that's the fact. And just because you lost the game doesn't make you a loser.
Yeah.
That's the reality. But additionally, to your point, is you need to be the right person in the right position. And
Yep.
there's more than the roles on the floor. There's the coach, there's the assistant coach, there's the
Yeah.
owner of the team, there's the ticket taker. They're all crucial roles, and they all take a completely different set of skills. And not everybody can do the same stuff. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of humans. We're all, our default settings are so different. Our past experiences are different. The way we learn, what we learn, how we connect, it's all very different. But that same top performer who can go and schmooze and network and get somebody to know, like them, and trust them in the first 30 seconds,
Yeah.
they probably really, really suck at something else. And it's
Totally.
usually the systems and process. Like
Yep.
they don't slow down to go do that other thing.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, there's somebody out there who, when you say systems and process, their face lights up.
Yeah.
They're salivating. They wake up early and stay up late thinking about how to make that experience better, just the systems
Yeah.
and process. And it's like, you need those people too. They just need to be
Totally.
moved into the right spot. I think even within real estate, we get lumped into, because you're an amazing buyer's agent, that doesn't mean you're going to be an amazing listing agent. It's a
Yep.
totally different skill set.
Totally.
And there's nothing wrong with one or the other. Some people are phenomenal at both, but some just outshine in
Yep.
the listing process. That's where they're amazing. And I think, having that honest conversation with yourself is, here are the things I'm really amazing at, and I just enjoy doing these 24 hours a day. And then here are the things I suck at, and
Yep.
I'm awful at these things, and I really should not be touching these things. I can do them, I can figure them out, but that's not my genius. That's not where my whole body comes alive. And
Yep.
so like those are the things that need to be moved around.
Totally. It's so
Um,
true.
but I think it's also tricky too because we're real estate it's all happening all the time, and so
Mm-hmm.
slowing down to try to figure out this stuff simultaneously,
Yep.
there we get wrapped up so often working in the business that we don't slow down to work on the business.
Yeah.
But to your point earlier, there's rhythms to the business, and
Yep.
historically, not a lot of things transact during Christmas,
Yep.
Hanukkah, New Year's. Phenomenal time to put it on your calendar to start business planning, strategizing, processes,
Yeah.
working on your
Totally.
systems.
And like we said, right, the resources and the people and the support are out there to help you take the next steps. You just gotta reach out and do it. One of my favorite activities to do at the end of the year. This comes from a Mel Robbins podcast. She
I
has
love
this
her.
philosophy called start, stop, and continue, and
Mm.
she does it every single year. Um, and she does it with her family as like a reflection thing. But I started also implementing it on like every Sunday night. I'll
Mm.
write down something that I want to stop doing from the previous week. So it might be like stop getting the trail mix at the office with the extra M&Ms on top. Like, it could be something as simple as that. Like, I'm gonna stop doing that because I've done it. Like, I'm literally looking at the office right now because it's like the snacks at the office that you always go to, and you're like, I don't even need it. I'm not even hungry. It's just like a habit. So stop. Like, it could be something as simple as that. I'm gonna stop doing this thing from the past week. So it's my weekly reflection. What is something that I want to continue doing? So, something that I was doing last week that's important that I should continue doing. That's like
Yeah.
waking up early, going to work out. I'm a big morning person. Um, and then what's one thing I want to start doing? What's one thing that I want to start or implement into the next week? And if you can just answer those three things like every single Sunday night, it just helps you shift and pay attention and notice. And it's like so simple to do. It can take like 3 minutes. Um, but it gives you that moment to actually reflect. All right, take inventory, and you might be writing the same things over and over, but that's okay because it's at least top of mind for you, and
Yeah.
eventually like it's going to change. Eventually you'll get over there. Because I mean, self-awareness sometimes is our biggest struggle, is like we're not even aware of the crap that we're doing until someone points it out or we get to the doctor, right? But if we can sit down and actually take that quiet time to
Yeah.
reflect. So that's one of my favorite activities. Stop, start, and continue.
That one's really good. I like that. And I'm curious of what your take is. But from doing this podcast, I feel like the one skill that is kind of the through line with top performers is they do have a high ability. They have a keen eye for awareness.
Yeah.
They notice things. They're more conscious of the things they notice. They
Yep.
don't just glaze over them.
Yep. Yeah. You have to, right? Like growth in general,
Yeah.
right? Growth comes from reflection. You don't just like accidentally get there.
Yeah. Such a good point. Um, I like that. Mel Robbins is amazing. It's funny, every once in a while her stuff comes up in my feed. It always stops me. Like it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's really good. That's amazing. Okay.
She has a simple way to explain things that other people I think get like really complex or too sciency or too woo-woo-y. She's just like very straightforward. I
Yeah.
like it.
She almost like bullet points it
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
point where uh, she dumbs it down where you can so easily digest it in like 30 seconds. You're like, got it.
Yep.
And
That's all I
then
need.
that's all you need. And then it's usually enough to just like
Yep.
make a little course correction right then and there.
Totally.
Ashley, this was amazing. I just glanced at the clock and I'm like, holy crap, we're actually at time already. This was so good. I
This
am
was really
inspired to go back and look at my processes. I feel like they need some love.
Yep, we all do. Mine as well. Courtney Smith, you mentioned her at the beginning of the call. Her and I were actually talking about our own CRMs, and we're like, "Oh my god, I haven't touched that. I haven't." So it's like we all, this is why we get together and we talk, because it allows us to all reflect on the things we should be doing, and like you just said, of course, correct a little bit. So
Yeah. It's you remind me of Socrates said, "Learning is remembering," and
mm,
it's so often we know this stuff. Like
yep,
if you've succeeded at any point in your life, you know this stuff. You
exactly.
just we for some reason got distracted and stopped doing it, and you just kind of need that. You sometimes just need a little reminder of
Yep,
you should go back and do that one little thing.
yep, exactly. Amazing. This was so fun, Sean.
Thank you, and that is a wrap.
Awesome.